Hello, my friends. This is the Apple one-year reading for 2022. We're going to do the second half of the reading. I just found like a folder where I'd done a bunch of readings in 2021 and forgot about them. So basically, if you just want the predictive, like you just want to see the second half of 2022's prediction, then cut to the time that we post in the description, because we're going to start with the review of what's already transpired. So, with that said, our overall theme and behavior for the year is opportunity in the midst of rally to open up short positions to protect against long positions. Behavior around the year's high will be 3 pokes through a horizontal resistance, followed by a notable decline off that third failed attempt to break resistance. Behavior out of the low is going to be sideways fluctuations with a bullish trend that precedes a decline. And the sneak preview for the following year, for 2023, is a failed attempt to break through key resistance, followed by a decline through key support. Trade opportunities around the completion of rallies, which would make sense when you put it up with the theme opportunities in the midst of rallies to open up short positions. The trade card, this is a trade significator. This is the theme significator, the high significator, the low significator. These are timeline cards. All right, each one of these is a month: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, and then sneak preview the following year. So the trade goes hand in hand with the theme. Trading around the end of bullish behavior. Now let's check out the actual chart year to date so far. It's currently June 8th, 2022, 9:42 p.m. All right, so first day of the year, first trading day of the year, right there. Then we have February. So we have a high. We have a high in February, we have a high in January, and you can see right here in early January, I should say. So each one of these clusters is makes up a month. The first card in the cluster is the early part of the month. The second card in the cluster is the late part of the month, and then you have the behavior around the high and the behavior around the low for each month. So we have a high in early January, right? Let's take a look at the chart. Bam, we have the high in early January. We have a high in February. Let's take a look here. Looks like we had another high in February because in between we had a low. I don't have that on there per se, but so far it looks like we're pretty on point. We have a low in March, in the end of March. February. That's a little bit off. Oh, sorry. I was looking at the wrong month. So we have a little bit off. I had end of the month here, and I didn't really see that big of a rally transpiring at the end of March. Looks like it got blended into May. We have that rally to the high in May was a big move higher, fast sudden move higher, marking the end of a period of rotation. Maybe not so well. I guess this could be considered rotation. And then we have May, which starts here. And then we have June, and we have a low in the end of June. As highlighted by these colors, these are the way that it works, guys, is the high significator has relationships with certain cards on the timeline, and it gives me information as to where timing of things takes place. And so at the end of June, we have a low. Looks like we have another low let's get into the prediction. This is pretty on point. Yeah, we had a high in April. Yeah, I'm totally on point. I was looking at the wrong month. So high in early January, a high within close proximity to the low in February. And then we have a low in March. And a low in June. Yeah, so okay, let's talk about the prediction now. 526 is the moment. All right, so for the remainder of June, guys, it looks like we've got a low in the end of June. After a fake out near the high in June, early June is decline. The end of May was a move higher. Let's see that. Yeah, okay, so at the end of May, we did have a move higher. Boom, right there, a prominent move to the upside. Now we should have a notable decline again. It would also line up perfectly with retrograde, with the phases of retrograde and the theory that I have. That's not really a theory. So we have a low at the end of the month of June after a selling down. It'll be formed when we have failed attempt to break through multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance, followed by a selling down to and through support level, followed by a rise back up to that same price level to reuse it as support. And near the high is a fake out. Like, we're made to think that we're going higher. In early July, we have sideways price swings, either even or with a bullish trend to them. I'm advised to be careful around the high in July. The high in July marks an opportunity to open up short position. There may be multiple false tops. And there's also a opportunity to open up short positions or protect against long positions near the low in July, within close time proximity to the low in July. And the low in July will be marked. There'll be quite a bit of behavior bumping along resistance level near the lows for July, with an important support level and trade opportunity at the end of July. So it looks like there's a swing trade here from early July to late July. Yeah, okay, so we hit important support level on a year chart. That support level marks an opportunity to cash in on a trade that we opened in early July, and then there's another trade opportunity here in August. So it looks like near the high in August. The high's early in August, so from the high in August, and there'll be a male ruler of nations that's highlighted, something important with the male ruler of nations highlighted in August. In early August, there's a decline that increases with momentum as we move forward into the month. The low will form when a rally along a diagonal trend line breaks down through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility as we move downward, and the low will be towards the end of the month of August. Low will be towards the end of the month of August. We'll revisit an important support level that was a past opportunity. And we'll do so with a sharp dip in the midst of a period of sideways rotation. And then we have a low in September, early September. From that low, interesting. So that August breakdown to the low probably... Well, early September, there's a rally that increases with momentum out of a prominent trough, maybe a year's low or just a prominent trough here in like the end of August, September, early September, and we have a rally out of that. There's an agreement or a merger of some kind, acquisition maybe, and that's highlighted around the high in September. we have multiple headwinds that push the stock down to reach the September lows, like multiple headwinds. And then in it looks like those headwinds probably come out in late August or in mid August and push the low into September. So that's like a year trough or a year's low, prominent trough or prominent low, and we have a rally out of that. Into the end of the month, we were traveling along a diagonal, higher along a diagonal trend line, and we break through horizontal resistance and then meet a second resistance before pulling back to somewhere between those two price levels. We have an irrationally big move to the upside in early October. Looks like the high forms when there's a big move from a support level all the way to a resistance level. Full range is met, and that rally starts out of a decline. The low forms when we have we sell off from an overbought crest on the RSI, so it'll be like 80 roughly. And also early October marks an opportunity to short or open up some puts, as well as September did as well. But early October opportunity in the midst of that irrationally big move to the upside to reach distant resistance. Sorry guys, I just had some weird music pop on my computer. It's really distracting me. There it is. No, that's not it. There we go. Jeez, that was annoying. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, looks like Congress is highlighted towards the end of the month, so there may be something. Congress is highlighted at the end of the month of October. So these headwinds, it looks like something was developing here between September and October. Might have to do, we had possible merger and acquisition here, something to do with a male leader. Probably of Nations, but it could be the CEO as well. I think probably Nations, though. And then we have an irrational move to the upside. Congress steps in. And then there's a low in November. So sideways fluctuations in early November. Sideways fluidity, I should say, equal inflow, outflow, equal bulls and bears. Buying, selling, it just kind of goes sideways along support. The high will form when we break through a resistance level and we stay above it briefly before breaking back down. It'll be kind of like an A shape if you use the price level as the horizontal line in a capital A. Behavior into the low, which for November will also be another trough. What is going on here? I'm so sorry. This is like... Alright, so there's a sideways S that forms near the low, and by that I mean there's a horizontal resistance and a horizontal support, and we decline from that resistance to support, back up to that resistance, and then back down to support. So it's two declines with an incline in between that takes place between those two horizontals, and it's a sideways S behavior. The low we'll know the low will form when we see it around like that behavior forming, and it's also a trough, prominent trough or possible low for Apple as well. It looks like there's even near the low there's an opportunity to short into it as well. So likely when we have that incline out of the decline, we come back to the resistance that we started the decline from, and that would be an opportunity to open up puts or short. Looks like, with that said, it's a good segue into the end of November, which is the revisiting of a crest, which was a past opportunity, and that crest is revisited within a period of like erratic behavior back and forth through a price level. So the same price level, and we go kind of like back and forth through it. Even in the face of overwhelming headwinds, we have in December a move to the upside, possibly even breaking through resistance. From the high though, we have something major, and it looks like there's a high at the end of the month. So there's a decline off of the end of the month here. From the low, we have a notable move to the upside. From the low in December, we have a notable move to the upside, successfully creating new support out of old resistance. And it looks like that's into the end of the month there, where we have a prominent crest that forms for Apple in the end of the year. That's just before we have failed attempt. The following year, 2023, is a failed attempt to break through resistance, followed by a decline through important support. All right, guys, that's Apple 2022. It's pretty on point. I mean, I did this. Let's see when I did this reading, guys. (2022) Apple created July 17th, 2021. And it was on point aside from one error. So right now it would basically have like a 99% accuracy. Hope this helps, guys. Let me know how it does. Let me know what you do with this info. Most importantly, when you make money, pay it forward, my friends. I'll see you on the next one.